Good morning, Facebook community. Em here from the June Wellness Centre. Just feeling really drawn, I suppose, to this space this morning. Getting a lot of stuff coming through at the moment, having sort of messages shared with me about where people might be potentially at the moment. And I want to jump in and share a very, very valuable resource. I believe it's valuable because it definitely changed things for me, to give you something to go off that might be able to support you at the moment in what it is that you're trying to maybe implement or change. And I've got a particular theme I want to sort of touch on as well, which might be a bit triggering for people. So just to give you a heads up, why it might be triggering is there might be something shine a light on something that we might not be really acknowledging or looking into at the moment. So I'll explain that in a bit more depth, but basically, yes, today want to do a little bit of a video message, share a resource to support you. So the first thing I'm going to ask is whoever's watching this, if you're watching it and you're feeling drawn to it, there's a very good chance that there's something in it for you, because we attract what we need, and we attract what we are in many ways. So plain and simply, if you are watching this, you might be somebody. I'm going to put some money on it. I would put money on it, sorry. You likely trying to make some changes in your life. You might have gone through a little bit of a process of learning lots of things, especially last year, and now you're trying to implement it. And you've had heaps of information come through and you've been navigating that, trying to process that, and you either still feel quite stuck, or you're feeling in a place where you're stuck, but you're kind of ready and you're not really sure what to do. So today I'm hoping to tackle some of that for you. So basically, in a nutshell, the reason why this might be a bit triggering for people is because this might be the message that you're needing to hear that's going to maybe change the direction for which you're maybe heading for your self-growth, but also maybe the way that you might be trying to help others. So this video is actually more so, not more so, but maybe really, really shines a bit of a light on the people that are helpers. People that are trying to work in other industries where they're helping others at the moment. You might be doing it for years, you might have just started out, but in particular this message and this resource is for you, because it's going to help you understand what that really entails and why we can fall into a bit of a trap. And the trap I'm referring to is we can fall into a cycle of being a wounded healer. And so this is a really, really important resource for those that are in that environment, trying to work on self-growth and really doing some amazing things, but not quite getting there, or feeling stuck and a bit stagnant. So in a nutshell, the first thing I want to say is this: with the last few years, it has been pretty chaotic for a lot of people. Not backwards in coming forwards when it comes to that particular topic. A lot of people have really struggled, and we've had our entire foundation crumble beneath us. For many people, that might even look like a complete shift in perception. You might be experiencing what we might call even in my industry, in many of the industries that I'm sort of involved in, we call that an awakening. It might be where you're starting to have an awareness, or you can see things that you didn't always see. You might realize that the world isn't necessarily as it seems. You might be starting to feel a real genuine pull to try and reconnect back to yourself, nature, source, whatever it is that you sort of are connected with outside of you. You're starting to explore things like that higher power. Where did I come from? Why am I here? What am I meant to be doing? So you might be starting to ask yourself questions like that. You might be feeling in your body, you might now sort of be aware and awake now to the amount that you've been carrying, and you're starting to realize that I might be carrying stuff that I need to let go of. For many of us, we spend many of our lives until we get to this point. A lot of the times to have that awakening experience, it can often take quite a sort of extreme situation, and sometimes it's just a consistent process or series of events that can lead us to that point where we just decide okay, enough of this, whatever this has been up until this point. I'm ready now to go within and start working on improving my life, if not to have better relationships, to maybe improve my health. You might be at a place now where your health is really deteriorating, and I understand this, because often when we get to that point, our body and the way that our body communicates with us is our first indication that something is out of alignment. Hands down. If you get any physical symptoms and stuff, yes, we absolutely need to investigate that, and take those steps to have those intervention levels, and maybe get that support from our medical professionals. But sometimes the symptoms that we're experiencing are not always linked to an illness as such. It can be something that we're cultivating within ourselves from unprocessed trauma and emotions and stress and all that jazz. So you might be in that place, and I'm getting a sense just from what people are sharing with me, what people aren't sharing with me, but what I might be tuning into based on the line of work that I'm doing. I'm starting to get a sense that there are a lot of people in our space coming to our space because they're needing a bit of support to navigate that process of understanding more about themselves, maybe the world, higher power, whatever we want to call it, whether it be you're starting to want to have that connection and you know where you come from, know what's created all of this. And it's important to mention as well, like, we don't necessarily go on tangents and try and feed all this information to you, because this is a very personal journey. So when you by coming to us, we're not going to give you the answers. We're just going to help you learn how to get back connected, so you can start channeling that information yourself and get really, really in tune with who you are without being told who you are. That's the biggest issue we have in society at the moment. We have a lot of people telling us who we are, where we come from, and a lot of these are just theories. A lot of these are just perceptions, personal experiences, and we don't realize this, but how we experience our world is our own perception. Even when we are deeply focused on everybody else and what they're doing and how that impacts us, it is still our perception. We do not have the ability often to know the ins and outs of what everything's, how everything's working, how everyone's thinking, feeling. We can get a lot more in tune with that, absolutely, but we don't have that bigger picture. There is a higher power, higher source, whatever we want to call it, out there that has that information, and it's all being worked with and orchestrated exactly as it's meant to. So again, if you're finding resources like this, you're being drawn to this space, what's happening is you are attracting what you need. We are very, very caught in a cycle at the moment where we might be mindlessly scrolling and just taking it in, but not really taking it in. And then you stop at something catches your eye, somebody catches your eye, something they say resonates with you. That's because we're all vibrating at a certain level, and if you're vibrating at a level and it matches, there's an instant attraction there. We attract what we're vibrating out there. So best way to put it is with the law of attraction, which is something you might have heard of. What we're actually doing is we're trying to match the vibration of the thing that we're wanting to come into our life. So if we're in a vibration that is quite low, we're sort of experiencing a real dense sort of energy, and we're keeping cycles going where we're maybe thinking that things are happening to us, where we've got a lot of things going on, and we're just maybe pointing fingers and saying everyone else is the cause for everything that's going on for me, and we're not taking any responsibility for our part in things. That can put us at a lower vibration, and what can happen is we will be attracting those things back into our life. Same thing goes for if you're vibrating at a much higher level and you're in a really good space and you're just like light and airy and I am feeling great and I'm so grateful, and I don't blame everybody else for everything in my life. I take full responsibility for my part, and I'm going to do everything I can within my power to do what I need to do to improve. That's going to help you attract more of those experiences into your life that are more helpful, and they're going to give you the resources that you need to be able to continue on that path. So chances are, if you're finding this video, it's because you're vibrating at a level, like you're in a place within yourself where you're ready to learn some more information about how to help yourself. And this happens all day, every day. So if you're finding yourself getting drawn into things, take note of that, especially if you're on this path where you're trying to learn more about yourself and what you're doing, why you're here. Start paying attention to things that you're paying attention to. You might be seeing some signs, you might be getting some reoccurring things happen. For example, you might see some numbers, you might have a particular animal that keeps coming into your perception. Like, there's so many things that could be happening right now. I won't go into that. Like I said, I don't want to sort of put that perception to you, because if it's something that's organic to you, you're going to be a lot more inclined to take notice of it. But that's just something to keep in mind at the moment. So back to where I was going with this. So where I refer to the triggering statement that I'm going to make, and this is going to be quite triggering for a lot of people, but it's something that we really, really need to look at, because at the moment we have a society of people that are very disconnected to themselves and ultimately focusing on everything outside of themselves, trying to change it. And what's happening is we're not getting too far with that. If anything, it can be a little bit harmful, it can be a little bit impersonal, and it's definitely damaging to the person that's engaging in that sort of thing. And what I mean by that is purely and simply, when we just had someone walk past the centre, purely and simply what's actually happening is when we're focusing all of our attention into everybody else, say helpers and healers and stuff like that. Like, I'm talking about people that have been in the industry for a really long time, that have maybe made some incredible changes, facilitated incredible changes in people's lives. And maybe now you're getting into a place where you're feeling a bit stuck. This is what I'm referring to. It doesn't matter how experienced you are in helping people. You can have multiple degrees. You can have been doing this for 20 plus years, but it doesn't mean that you are not susceptible to this cycle, especially if you yourself have been through cycles and repeated programming that is going to keep repeating itself and keeping the cycles going. And I'll explain this in a bit more depth. But yeah, so the triggering thing that I'm going to mention here is a term which has been coined a lot. A lot of people have their own perception of this, but it's actually something that's come up a lot in my conversations lately, is the wounded healer. And what I mean by that is the people that are going out to try and save the world because they themselves have been hurt so deeply, and they feel like, I couldn't bear the thought of seeing other people go through this pain. So rather than have the switch completely flipped over to being bitter and resentful and stuff like that, sometimes we can go the other way and be like, this is my life purpose now. I've been through so much. I've worked through all of this, and this is common as well. We can consciously say, I've worked through all of this. I'm good to go. Now I'm going to help people. And I've been there and done that. So I'm not judging anybody that is in that space. And often the people that are in that line of work have been through some shit. So that is why they often go into those roles, is they've been through some shit, or they've witnessed some stuff that they thought, really needed to be changed. And so that's something to keep in mind. But what's happening now, and you're going to likely be feeling really triggered, have your feathers stirred, you're going to be having lots of little annoyances happening in your life, you're going to have your entire foundation crumbling beneath you, because energetically we're being supported to really go with that process and to let that process happen. But naturally, anything that is out of our comfort zone, anything that is your world shaken to its absolute core, is not going to be comfortable. So we're going to be doing everything in our power to cling on for dear life so we don't experience that. Okay, so the resource that I want to share with you about understanding maybe how it's best to maybe approach this, so that you're not somebody that's coming from a wounded healing place, and also coming from a place where you're bringing the focus back to yourself, because this is a real critical time for people. This is a little bit of a crunch time for those that are here doing the light work, as we might put it, or the people that feel really drawn to these roles, to helping people. It's crunch time in the sense that we are only going to be able to help people by being models for what we want to see in the world. Meaning, the more we focus our energy elsewhere, where your focus goes, energy flows. Therefore, none of that energy is coming back to you and being replenished. And not only that, often the stuff that you're seeing is a direct reflection of what's happening in your own life. It's just really painful to see it. So what I mean is, some of our clients, for example, that come to us, in fact, nearly all of our clients come to us because they're either in a place where you currently are, and it's showing you and it's mirroring that back to you to say, well, actually, this is something you've got to pay attention to. Or it could be, for example, you've worked through something and that person might be coming into your space and you're able to support them through that process now. So it's also healing in itself to take them through that process. But at every single stage, you've got to make that, that's aware choice. Am I coming from a wounded healing place or an empowered healer place? So it sounds a bit silly, but if we're coming from a wounded place, we are potentially harming that person and keeping the cycles going. We are absolutely going to be able to give them that superficial support that we are giving. And I say superficial, which is triggering as all shit, I know, for people that do this deep work. But trust me when I say, you can only heal somebody to the level that you've been able to heal yourself. You can only vibrationally match somebody and vibrationally intertwine with somebody in a positive way if you are there yourself. We cannot heal from a wounded place. It doesn't happen. We are only going to be attracting like energy back to us. And so it doesn't matter if you're there. It's just a matter of being aware of that and taking responsibility for that and working back on yourself and making sure that that's that priority. And so this is not just about people that are in the healing field. This might be somebody that's in their community that is doing amazing work, offering up, being a listening ear, trying to help everybody. You might see people in your family, in your friend circle that are really struggling, and you're trying to be that person that's there for them. And you're just finding that you're just getting all this, resistance, or you're pushing to try and say, look, this is what I feel like you need. I think you need help. This is a very common one. Those sort of engagements that we're having at the moment, unless we are vibrationally matching what we want them to be at, we are not going to have a positive, long-term, sustainable influence on anybody. We have got to be that in ourselves. And that's the kind of work that we're doing at the moment, where we're bringing people into our space that are healers, helpers, and we're finding a lot of the clientele we're getting are people that are really involved in that kind of world, and now at that place where they know it's crunch time. I really have to figure out why these cycles keep repeating, or what it is I'm not looking at, what it is I'm not healing from. Why is my body starting to have all these symptoms? Why is my mind constantly racing? And that's why we're doing what we're doing. We're creating a space for everybody, because whether you are a healer, you might be the most experienced, most gifted healer, most in tune person on the planet. You might have done heaps of work, done millions of courses, paid a fortune. But if you are not in a place where you are really, really integrating and aligned with and embodying the work that you're doing, you are essentially going to be triggering those around you, and sometimes not in a positive way. It's just a constant mirror effect. So the resource I want to share with you about all of that is maybe a bit of an analogy, which might help maybe give you another perspective on where you need to be, and something that you can take with you and think about and really process that and integrate that into your life to be able to make that change. So if we think of it like this, we're all in the same ocean, stormy seas. There's a lot of people that are experiencing really stormy seas at the moment. Things are a bit turbulent, and we're noticing maybe some ships are, people are drowning, ships are going down. So say everyone's a captain of their own ship. I should have started first. Everyone's a captain of their own ship, and what we're seeing ships getting affected by the stormy seas, and they're getting knocked over. Some are sinking, some appear to just be lost and just going off like a cork in the bathtub kind of thing. And we're seeing it, and it's disturbing, and it's really distressing for somebody with a heart full of compassion and empathy and love. And so naturally what we want to do is we want to dive in. We want to dive in, we want to save. That's our first instinct, and that is often coming from pure love, but sometimes the underlying reasons behind that go a bit deeper than that. So if everyone's a captain of their own ship, we're seeing everyone in stormy weather, it's affecting them and they're needing help. We're jumping in and we're trying to save them. Why is this not a suitable thing? What the most common thing that happens, and this is something that I know from experience. So reason I use this analogy is my background prior to getting into this line of work is I worked in maritime rescue. I did work, I was contracted as somebody that was involved in maritime rescue. So I understand this process. So that going in and trying to save somebody from a place of needing to be saved yourself, and when I say saved, just more so like being a strong boat that's not taking in water yourself, not being affected as severely, and then trying to jump in and save someone else. You're basically you're comforting somebody in those moments that are tough, and that's really powerful in itself. But essentially what we're doing is we're trauma bonding. We're just in it together. If we're going to step out of that and try and actually genuinely help people, it first begins with being a really strong structure within ourselves, and not necessarily being a ship in the water, actually going a bit of a higher road, getting out of that space for a little bit, being able to be in it and understand it and sort of have that compassion and empathy for it, but stepping out and focusing more so on being a lighthouse that guides them home. Okay, so we've been spending a lot of time and energy trying to be the ships that are going out to rescue, where no one's operating the lighthouse. So everyone's just in the dark, stormy seas, waves up, however many foot high, and there's no one operating the lighthouse, or it doesn't appear like anyone's operating the lighthouse. So we need more people operating the lighthouse. Okay, there's enough people that have the capacity to go in and do the rescues, but we need more people to support the process home. So it's knowing where you belong in the intervention level when it comes to supporting people. It's knowing your place where you fit in, because you are not necessarily going to be the one person that takes someone through every single intervention level if they're in a place and they're needing help. So I hope that makes sense. So rather than worry about being the ship going out trying to save everybody, when you're already taking on water, you're already, your passengers and the people you've rescued are just overflowing, and you're also at risk at also getting capsized, I suppose. Focusing back on being the lighthouse that helps everybody that's working in that thing to be able to have a safe route home. So for example, if we've got a rescue ship out there that's already done a huge rescue, they can come back in, they know where to go so that they can be guided back home and then go back out again when they are ready to, when they are structurally in a position to make the changes or support people in a really profound way. So that's just one little resource that I wanted to share. So if you're needing something to help you understand why you're feeling so burnt out, stressed, compassion fatigue, you're looking around everywhere else and seeing all this chaos, you're seeing people really struggling at the moment. We absolutely are struggling, and we are all in the water. But in order to be somebody that can move away from that and be a genuine support for somebody and know the exact process to get somebody out of the water, it takes a level of training, but it means that you need to be able to have known that process yourself, maybe go through that process. One of the most frustrating things that I know I used to hear, especially when I've been in the water and I've been a ship and I've been reaching out to anyone and everyone that can come and save me. And one thing that I've seen and observed multiple times in my line of work is people coming saying, I'm trying to help this person and I want them to get the help and this and that. The most frustrating thing that I've come across in my experience is people will often say things like, I'm trying to help someone, or they need help. I'm trying to get them to get the help. And I often ask people in those moments is, have you ever gone and got help yourself? Have you ever role modeled what that looks like? Do you yourself get regular therapy to work through your stuff? Have you ever had an addiction to something? And they'll be like, oh no, I've never done this or that. And then I often say, then how are you somebody that person's going to trust? How does your energy, how does your intention come off as an empowering thing, opposed to a disempowering, I'm going to save you, where that person never, they might get out of that, out of the mud initially, but they keep coming back into that place. And that's something that you can probably all understand where I'm coming from. We might get pulled out of the mud, but we often always go back there, especially if we haven't got to the root cause of why we're going there in the first place. So we can really, really make a difference based on how empowered we can make someone feel. So to genuinely support someone and to support yourself. So if you're doing this work individually, same reason why things haven't been working for you, you're likely coming from a place of, I need to do this, I need to help you, I need to, oversee and facilitate this change, rather than actually come from a place of, I'm going to support and facilitate that process from an empowered place. I know that sounds a bit tricky, a bit triggering, but the key points that I want to sort of share and get across, and this is turning into a bit of a longer video, but I really am feeling this message come through strongly. If you are somebody that is trying to jump in and save everybody, neglecting yourself in the process, and sometimes you don't even know you're neglecting yourself in the process. This often comes with the things like maybe symptoms that you're experiencing. It might be how your life is presenting, how you're perceiving your world. Jumping to try and save people when you're also taking on water doesn't help anybody. There are multiple people out there that have the capacity to do that intervention work. It's time we work at our place where we're at and help them understand, help them understand that there are more people out there. So it's about helping guide people to have a support network of people that are, capable. Doesn't necessarily have to be trained. It's not something where I feel you can only help somebody if you've done formal training. That's not what I mean, but to be in the capacity to take on a support role in someone's life, you need to have to role model that you yourself would, if you haven't yet, also go down that path. Because it's, if we do anything outside of, really going through that process ourselves, we're not empowering anybody. We're just taking over. We're actually trying to control a situation which isn't in our control. So I hope this helps. So like I said, lighthouse. Rather than try and be the ship out there, maybe focus on being the lighthouse. And trust me, more people are going to come home safely if more people shine their light brightly by being that beam of support, hope, example. If you are grounded, if you are vibrating high, that's going to attract people more to you than it is if you're going to jump out and try and rescue everybody. And on one really, really quick note, and another thing that I've learned over the years and all the stuff that I've done in the training, not everybody's ready to be helped or saved. Some people are actually going through their process because that's necessarily, it's what's necessary for them. That sounds really triggering as well. I know, as I said, I'm thinking, yeah, okay, this is going to really trigger people. But the thing that we've got to remember is, it is out of our control how people live, survive, perceive their life. It is out of our control. We can definitely have positive influences in people, but we cannot save people who are not ready to be saved. All it does is it uses up all your resources. It means you're taking on water in the boat, in the ship, like I say, and you also drown with it. And that's something, if we look at it from the other perspective, we all know in an aeroplane situation, they teach us to put our mask on first before we put on old mate's mask. Why? Because if we can't breathe, we can't help anybody. Same deal. So much love and support. If this has triggered you, if you are in a helping role, or if you're trying to put yourself in a role of trying to help people within your community, your circles, I hope this helps you understand maybe where that's all coming from. If you have any more questions, want some resources, need some help, like actual help to learn more about this lighthouse analogy, how to actually shine brighter, work through your own stuff, heal your own wounds, so you are not a wounded healer. Wounded healers are beautiful souls, absolutely, but they are often going around and keeping some cycles going because it's continuously mirroring until we take that responsibility for where our wounds are and we attend to them. If we can't attend to our own wounds, we most certainly can't attend to anybody else's. So love and light, and I hope everyone has a great day, and I hope this helps.